Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's interview. I am really excited to be chatting with Pauleanna Reid. And Pauleanna and I had the opportunity to meet maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago now. And Pauleanna is an entrepreneur who is absolutely crushing it right now. So in addition to being an author, a speaker, she also runs a company called New Girls on the Block, where she turns shy girls into fly girls, helping them mentor them along their way through this journey called life. So Pauleanna has a really interesting story on how she's leveraged social media to turn it into traditional press opportunities for her. So thank you again for sharing a few minutes and your inspiration with us, Pauleanna.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so cool.
So I'd love for you to share a little bit more with the viewers about yourself and your journey and how you got to where you are today and what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Geez, where do I begin? I think the one thing I have in common with the people that are watching here today is the fact that we all started with a dream, something very, very simple that anyone can have. And so for me, I always knew that it was possible, but it was the opinions of other people that kind of detoured me from that path. And I think it's very important before I get started in this field is that, you can't let other people dictate your results, right? And so for me, like I went through a lot of hardship in high school. I wasn't popular. I didn't have a baller boyfriend. I struggled academically. But one thing where I found my most like sacred space and peace is when I would journal about my experiences and express all of those, emotions outwardly. So that was my first love, was in writing, and I knew it was a career path I wanted to explore. So when I hit my senior year is when the opinions of other people became, more evident, because, you're talking about what you want to do for the rest of your life. And I'm saying, hey, I want to be a writer and speaker. And a lot of people looked at me as if I was crazy, because they didn't understand, or they didn't comprehend or think that you could make a living from being a writer or a speaker. But I didn't care. Like I loved it so much that I just wanted the opportunity to do it. I ended up entering a college program that wasn't my choice. It was selected for me by my parents. And obviously, parents, they think they know best, and all rights to them. But I was very, very unhappy, and I ended up falling into a very deep depression. In my second year of my college experience, I decided to drop out during exam week. I ripped up my paper, walked out of the classroom, and left it all behind. And I told myself I'd figure it out. And I did. And over the course of, maybe 6 years, my career has expanded into from blogger to journalist, from journalist to best-selling author, from best-selling author to celebrity and CEO ghostwriter. I'm also a motivational speaker. I'm blessed to be gracing stages across North America, empowering women and girls. And last but not least, the most important part of my legacy is my mentorship program. I'm now doing exactly what other individuals have done for me, and I'm mentoring women and girls across the globe and helping them kind of carve their path.
Awesome. So obviously you've had a lot of media coverage in the last few years. I believe I've seen you on Global, MTV, Essence. So why is getting media coverage so important for your brand?
Oh my gosh, it's critical, because if you do things behind the scenes and no one's paying attention, you can't expect people to read your minds. In order for you to amplify your message, you have to connect with podcasters, bloggers, television producers, magazine editors. It's necessary and critical, because it's I know the most brilliant people, but they keep their thoughts to themselves. You're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing the community a disservice by just keeping those thoughts all inside. By connecting with someone who can amplify your voice for you, like a Global or an Essence, you're able to spread your message far and wide. And that's essentially the whole point of being an entrepreneur, is to make an impact.
I think that's a really nice way you just phrased it. You're doing a disservice keeping your message to yourself. So that's definitely something I want everyone to really think about. That your job here, you're doing this is to help inspire others and help them live better lives. So definitely thank you for that tidbit. So Pauleanna, knowing you personally, I know that you kind of don't do things by accident. You're very strategic in what you do. So how did you determine what the right media outlets for your brand would be?
That is such a good question. So what I've learned about PR and marketing is the art of storytelling. And so what I usually do is, me and my team will look at the course of the year. We'll figure out, okay, what is Mental Health Awareness Month or Mental Health Awareness Week, or what is Women's International Day. We'll take the most important days and the most important months that relate to my brand, and then we plan, okay, what are the stories we are going to tell in that frame of time? I don't think a lot of people don't really take that in or don't really understand that, like, it's all about storytelling. When you're doing a pitch, when you're connecting to an outlet, they are not going to bite unless you have a good story to tell. And so for me, by looking at my calendar dates, by analyzing my brand and the stories I want to tell, then I'm able to assess what outlets that I think would even want to share my story. So for me, I'm not going to necessarily go to like a health and wellness blog if I'm telling a story about mentorship. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to go to something that's too opposite. I'm going to go to an outlet that has maybe started the conversation but hasn't necessarily continued it, so I can be that, that seed that can expand on it.
And you also mentioned something there really important that I think people should take note of as well. The term that I love to jump on is newsjacking, and you kind of mentioned that similarly there. You take an opportunity to see what news already exists. So what the month of what, the week of what international day is it, and you see how your story can relate to that. So you're already capitalizing on something that's going to get news coverage regardless. So I think that's such a brilliant strategic way to do it. So smart. I think a lot of people are trapped in just talking about their own story and not really recognizing how does this relate to the people on the other side of the media who are consuming it. And you do a really good job of that. So thank you for sharing that piece of information.
Yeah, like why would they? You got to ask yourself, why would they care?
You know what I mean? Like, the best thing I learned in PR school ever. No one cares about your brand more than you. Why should they care? That's amazing. If anyone walks away with one nugget from this, that's the one I want you to write down so far.
Awesome.
So, Pauleanna, I know that you did something really interesting that a lot of people can draw inspiration from and maybe follow your lead on this one. So I know that you were able to leverage tweeting with a magazine editor at Essence into actually being featured in the print publication. So tell me a bit about how that came about and how you were able to parlay social media to the pages of Essence magazine.
Yeah, absolutely. So everybody who knows me knows I'm absolutely obsessed with vision boards. And this is one thing too, like when you are passionate about something, let the world know, because they can't help you if you don't raise your hand. So like I literally, throughout my social media, I'm very bold about the fact that I love writing down my goals. I love creating vision boards. And so when Essence magazine tweeted, hey, like, do you have a cool story, or do you have a success story that started with the vision board? Let us know. I had a few people actually tweet me and let me know that they did this. One of them includes my friend, our mutual friend, Siobhan John. And I took it upon myself. I mean, at first I was kind of like, dang, like there's going to be so many people that email this email. Like, do I really want to do this? But I'm like, you know what? Again, power of thought. Let me just do it anyway and see what happens. I emailed the team. I told them my story. And one thing I did attach was previous video content and previous photographs from vision board parties that I had thrown in the past. Later to find out that was the one factor that made me different from all the other applications. She said, you were ready. Like everybody else had grainy photos, had no video content, or had a half-assed story. You came with everything that we wanted right off the jump. And she said it was an easy decision. And also too, if we're going to talk about the relationship building, part of my story is, she took interest in my story, and she's like, hey, the next time you're in New York, let me know. And I had no plans to go to New York, but after she said that, I booked a plane ticket, and I pretty much jumped on a plane the next week, and I flew in for the day so I could plant that seed and build that relationship, which led to, if you guys are on the Essence Magazine newsletters, you may see me come across a newsletter within the next coming weeks.
Ooh, can you give us a sneak peek with what it's about, or do we have to wait for it to drop first?
It's basically a career interview, similar to this one. Basically just picking my brains about my story. Every time I go to New York, I reach out to her, even if it's as little as 5 minutes that I just get to say hi and just kind of like learn something from her. I always make sure that I nurture that relationship. And I think a lot of people, like once you connect with a media outlet, don't let that conversation run dry. Like continue to check in with them every so often.
And I think that's another amazing gem that you're dropping, like nurture those relationships. Don't just get what you eat and let it go. If you can manage to maintain and build and develop a relationship, as editors, they're happier to work with someone who they have a previous relationship or friendship with, which you're able to continue leveraging into more opportunities for yourself. So that's another amazing nugget from Pauleanna Reid. So, okay, so my next question for you is, so you've been featured on, like you said earlier, Forbes, MTV, Global News. So how did those opportunities come about for you, and how were you actually able to leverage those specific opportunities into more media opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, every single news opportunity that I have been involved in has to do with me building the relationships and planting the seeds. So for me, I have a personal quota. I'm sure you guys can see a bunch of sticky notes over there. So these sticky notes have the names of people I've met from across North America on my travels. It has their name, what they do, where they're from. So like again, it's kind of hard. Like when you build so many relationships, it can be hard to keep track of like when was the last time I spoke to Shaw, the founder of Boss Mom Nation, or the editor, the Love and Lifestyle editor from Essence. So I kind of have reminders so I can look at my board periodically. Well, shoot, I haven't talked to her in a bit. Let me shoot her a note, right? So for me, I'm nurturing those relationships, and which puts me at the forefront of their minds when something comes up.
Yep.
For example, I met a host at a networking party. His name is Sheldon Neal. He works very close. He works at CBC Studios, and I walked up to him and I said hello, and we've been friends ever since. Literally, so many things can arise from saying hello, and now every single time he does a feature on TV that has to do with something that aligns with my brand, I'm the first person that he calls, right? So again, people cannot read your mind. You have to kind of let them know. Once you nurture the relationship, let them know what you want. How I've leveraged these opportunities, I mean, it's opened just so many doors. It puts me in front of a greater audience that then opts into my mailing list or purchases my services or buys my book. It's just like this effect that just goes on and on.
And that leads really nicely into my last question. I was going to say, it's fantastic for credibility to get into media. It's, let's call a spade a spade. It's really nice ego boosting. See yourself on the shiny pages. I love when I see it for myself too when I'm on television. But what has getting media coverage really done for your business? Whether that's more opportunities, has it brought in revenue, how's it driven and grown your business?
You know what? It gives me street cred. There's too many entrepreneurs walking around here that don't have like credibility behind what they do. They don't have those metrics. It gives me credibility because then other people are able to see, oh, like you're doing that, or you've been featured on what? Like it gives them comfort, and it builds that trusting relationship that then creates loyalists, right? You want supporters and followers that are going to be loyal to your brand. I have people who've been following me since my birth in 2009, right? So for me, seeing that evolution, when an audience member is able to see that evolution, it just like solidifies that relationship, and it builds that heart-to-heart connection because they know how far you've come. But it also too, it positions you as an expert in your field. Like if you're able to sit on TV or wherever and talk about your subject of interest, it positions you as an expert because obviously they wouldn't hire you if you didn't know what you're talking about.
Totally. Okay, so one question I'd love to wrap up with is I would love for you to share 3 do's of reaching out to media on social networks. And if you also have 3 don'ts to share, those would be really valuable as well.
Oh boy. Okay. 3 do's. Always take a chance. I have definitely take notes. So here's this is a treat. So like what me and my team do I would say like every week or every other week is we have our list of media outlets, and we actively go on their Twitter and Instagram to see like Essence Magazine made that offer. We actively search every week or every other week to see who's making an offer and how can we jump on the opportunity. So that's one strategy that you should absolutely do. If you want to be Fortune Inc. or Fortune or wherever, you should be checking their timelines, because a lot of publications, a lot of outlets are going to their audiences online to pick their talent. Number 1. Number 2, expand your network. Like, don't limit your network to just people related to your field. You need to know people who are in television and film. You need to know people who are in the medical field. You need to know people who are in education. Spread that message far and wide and make friends with new people who have similar interests. Because the common factor is the simple fact that like you are driven. So like there's something to start the conversation. So expand your network and don't limit yourself, because you don't know who's in their circle. The third do is have, oh my gosh, always stay ready so you don't have to be ready. So like I said in Essence Magazine, like when I did my vision board parties and I was filming and I hired a professional photographer, was I strategically planning for me to be in Essence? Not really. For me, it was just like a standard of excellence that I have for myself. It's like, why not have this footage? Because I know at some point I'll need it. I don't know when. So that's an example of staying ready so I didn't have to get ready. And that is really what got me that feature, right? So always stay ready so that when they ask you for something, you have your LinkedIn page on lock and it looks great. You have testimonials. I have over 70 testimonials on my LinkedIn page. Like every time I work with someone, I get their recommendation. And yeah, like again, just stay ready. Don't be sloppy. Don't be lazy. You just never know. And then don'ts. It's probably just like don't like flood. Like if you're going in for an ask, then just make sure you just have patience. Like don't flood their inbox with your requests. Another don't is when you're connecting with people and you're building those relationships, just build the relationship. Like that's all, just nurture the relationship. The opportunities will come afterwards. Yeah. Don't necessarily, hit them with your agenda right off the bat. That's not cute. And number 3, one thing I've learned from actually the lifestyle and relationship editor at Essence is she told me once you do nurture the relationship and you do feel like you're in a good space to go for the ask, be very specific with your ask. If you want to be in that magazine feature, if you want to be on that talk and you know the person can hook it up, go just ask the question. Don't be afraid. Don't hesitate. Once you've already built the relationship, go for the ask. Don't be afraid.
Alrighty, amazing tips. So everyone, you've got your homework cut out for them, and soon you can have a media track record just as amazing as Pauleanna's. So Pauleanna, where can everyone find you and connect with you, whether that's your website or on your social networks?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you Google me, Pauleanna Reid, everything pops up. I'm on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and my website is pauleannareid.com, and my company website is newgirlontheblock.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, and we will see you on the internet and on the media soon.
Thanks.
Thanks.